The silent verdict. The Central Authority Chamber stood as a monument to galactic unity, its crystalline walls reflecting the light of 1,000 stars. 12 species had gathered here for centuries, deciding the fate of civilizations with calculated precision. Today, they would make their most controversial decision yet. Admiral Cathar of the Zelethi Empire watched the council delegates file into their designated platforms. His 4 arms crossed in contemplation as holographic displays flickered to life around the circular chamber. The topic was singular, focused, and deadly serious: humanity. The Terran species had joined the Galactic Confederacy only 50 standard years ago, but their impact rippled through every sector like a supernova's shockwave. Where other species evolved gradually, humans adapted with frightening speed. Their colonies sprouted on worlds deemed uninhabitable. Their technology advanced through reckless experimentation. Their diplomatic strategies shifted from cooperation to competition without warning. Ambassador Nextel of the Quellian Collective initiated the session. Her translucent form pulsed with bioluminescent patterns as she spoke. The evidence is overwhelming. Human expansion threatens established trade routes. Their military innovations destabilize regional power structures. Their cultural influence corrupts traditional values across member worlds. The draconian representative, Lord Vexmar, leaned forward on his throne. Scales glinted under the chamber lights as his deep voice resonated. They question every law, challenge every tradition. When we established the mining accord of Sector 7, humans found loopholes within days. When we limited colony ships to standard configurations, they converted cargo haulers into generation vessels. Admiral Cathar had witnessed human ingenuity firsthand during the Krell border conflict. A single human reconnaissance team had disabled an entire Zelethi battle group using improvised electromagnetic pulse weapons crafted from mining equipment. The memory still stung his pride. Their reproduction rate exceeds sustainable limits, added the synthetic voice of Unit Prima, representing the Mechanist Enclave. Statistical projections indicate human populations will comprise 30% of galactic citizenship within 2 centuries. Their genetic diversity and adaptability create unpredictable variables in all societal models. The debate continued for hours, but the outcome seemed predetermined. Each species presented grievances, from economic disruption to military concerns. Humans were too innovative, too unpredictable, too willing to challenge the established order that had maintained peace for millennia. High Chancellor Thillen called for the vote. One by one, the representatives cast their decisions into the central matrix. The result glowed in stark crimson. Unanimous. Humanity would be expelled from the Galactic Confederacy, effective immediately. The implementation would be swift and absolute. Human ambassadors were recalled from all member worlds. Trade agreements were nullified. Colony permits were revoked. Within standard weeks, human vessels were banned from designated spaceways. The species that had burst onto the galactic stage with such promise found themselves suddenly and completely isolated. Admiral Cathar accepted command of the enforcement fleet, a massive armada tasked with ensuring human compliance. His orders were clear. Establish a quarantine zone around Sol system and human colonies. Any vessel attempting to breach the perimeter would be destroyed. The Admiral felt no pleasure in this duty, but order had to be maintained. The first months proceeded smoothly. Human colonies went dark, their communications cut from the galactic network. Patrol ships reported minimal resistance as humans withdrew to their designated zones. The Council congratulated themselves on a difficult but necessary decision. Then the disappearances began. A mining station in the Outer Rim fell silent without warning. When investigators arrived, they found the facility intact but abandoned. Equipment remained functional, life support systems operated normally, but every sentient being had vanished. The only anomaly was a message etched into the command center wall. You silenced a species, not an idea. 3 weeks later, a Quellian research outpost reported similar findings. Then a draconian supply depot. A pattern emerged of facilities going dark in remote sectors, always with the same cryptic message left behind. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just empty stations, and those haunting words. Admiral Cathar studied the incidents from his flagship's command center. His tactical experience suggested coordinated strikes, but the method defied understanding. No weapons signatures, no ship movements, no communication intercepts. The humans were supposedly contained, yet these events suggested otherwise. Analysis complete, Admiral, his tactical officer reported. 17 facilities compromised across 9 sectors. No observable connection between targets, no strategic value in their selection. The Admiral's mandibles clicked in frustration. Humans excelled at psychological warfare, but this seemed different. These weren't military targets or economic hubs. The selection appeared random, designed to spread fear rather than achieve tactical objectives. Intelligence reports suggested growing unease among civilian populations. Stories spread of human ghosts stalking the space lanes, of shadow fleets hidden in cosmic voids. The Council dismissed such tales as paranoia, but Admiral Cathar had learned never to underestimate human creativity. His concerns proved justified when the 18th incident occurred at a heavily fortified Zelathi naval depot. Unlike previous cases, this facility boasted military-grade sensors and a full garrison. Yet the result was identical. Empty corridors, abandoned posts, and that same message carved into the main reactor housing. Video logs revealed nothing. Personnel went about their duties normally until the recording systems simultaneously failed. When backup power restored the feeds 12 hours later, the station was deserted. 300 trained soldiers and support staff had vanished without triggering a single alarm. The High Council convened an emergency session. Fear had replaced their earlier confidence. Some members proposed military strikes against known human colonies, but others urged caution. The humans had apparently developed new technologies during their decades among the stars, capabilities that defied conventional understanding. Ambassador Nextel's bioluminescence flickered nervously. Perhaps we acted hastily. The humans could have been negotiated with, their expansion regulated through diplomatic channels. Lord Vexmar slammed his tail against his platform. Weakness. They challenge our authority with these terror tactics. We must respond with overwhelming force. Admiral Cathar observed the debate with growing concern. The Council was fracturing, exactly as the humans might have intended. Fear and paranoia eroded unity more effectively than any weapon. He requested permission to address the assembly. Honored delegates, we face an enemy unlike any in our history. Humans think differently, act unpredictably, and now demonstrate capabilities we don't understand. I propose we maintain the quarantine but establish monitoring stations at maximum sensor range. We must gather intelligence before deciding our next move. The Council approved his suggestion, though some members advocated for more aggressive action. Admiral Cathar departed to implement the new strategy, but privately harbored doubts. The empty facilities haunted his thoughts. How did one fight an enemy that could make hundreds of beings disappear without a trace? As his fleet took position around the Sol system perimeter, long-range sensors detected unusual energy signatures from the quarantine zone. The readings defied classification, neither conventional drives nor known weapon systems. Something was stirring in human space, something the Galactic Confederacy had failed to anticipate. The Admiral studied the data with growing unease. Humans had always been masters of innovation under pressure. By isolating them, had the Council merely forced them to evolve in ways beyond alien comprehension? The silence from the quarantine zone suddenly seemed less like compliance and more like preparation. A priority message arrived from the High Council. Another facility had gone dark, this time in the core worlds themselves. The location sent shockwaves through the Confederacy, a diplomatic station on the edge of the capital system. The message found there was different. The galaxy is vast. Borders are illusions. Ideas cannot be contained. Admiral Cathar understood the implications immediately. The humans weren't just conducting raids from their quarantine zones. They had somehow established a presence throughout Confederacy space, hidden in plain sight. The Council's worst fears were materializing. Not a military invasion, but something far more insidious. As he contemplated their next move, a junior officer approached with a classified report. Deep space monitors had detected artificial structures in the void between stars, locations previously thought empty. The configurations matched no known architecture, but their position suggested a vast network spanning multiple sectors. The humans hadn't accepted their exile. They had used it as an opportunity to disappear into the cosmic dark, building something beyond the Confederacy's sight or understanding. Admiral Cathar realized with cold certainty that the Council's unanimous vote hadn't ended humanity's involvement in galactic affairs. It had merely driven them underground, into the cosmic dark, building something beyond the Confederacy's sight or understanding. Admiral Cathar realized with cold certainty that the Council's unanimous vote hadn't ended humanity's involvement in galactic affairs. It had merely driven them underground, where they could plan and prepare without oversight or restriction. The empty facilities weren't random terrorism. They were messages, demonstrations of capability, warnings of what was to come. The silence from the quarantine zone wasn't submission. It was the eye of a storm about to break. As his fleet maintained their vigil, Admiral Cathar wondered if the Council truly understood what they had unleashed. By trying to cage humanity's potential, they might have created something far more dangerous. A species with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. The stars around Sol system burned coldly in the eternal night, keeping their secrets. Somewhere in that darkness, humanity was preparing its response to the galaxy that had rejected them. The empty stations were just the beginning. What came next would reshape the cosmic order forever. The Phantom Fleet. Deep space scanners painted ethereal patterns across the holographic displays of Station Nexus 7. Lieutenant Commander Zara Okonkwo of the Confederate Navy watched the readings with practiced skepticism. For 3 months, her early warning post had tracked anomalies in the dead zones, regions of space between star systems where nothing should exist except cosmic dust and radiation. The patterns were subtle, almost dismissible as sensor ghosts or equipment malfunctions. Energy signatures that appeared for microseconds before vanishing. Gravitational distortions that defied natural explanation. Mass shadows moving against the stellar backdrop where no mass should be. Recalibrate the array, she ordered her team. Run a full diagnostic sweep. Her Quellian sensor operator, Hexlin, pulsed a soft blue acknowledgement. Third recalibration this week, Commander. The equipment is functioning within normal parameters. Zara knew Hexlin was right, but the alternatives were too unsettling to accept. If the sensors were accurate, something massive was moving through the void, hidden by technologies beyond Confederate understanding. The implication sent chills down her spine. 3 sectors away, Admiral Cathar received her latest report with grim interest. The empty facilities had continued their mysterious depopulation. 27 now, scattered across Confederate space with no discernible pattern. Meanwhile, these sensor anomalies suggested coordinated movement on a scale that should be impossible to conceal. "Show me the projection," he commanded his strategic team. The main hologram shifted, displaying a 3-dimensional map of local space. Red markers indicated the vanished facilities. Blue points showed the sensor anomalies Zara had detected. As the computer ran predictive algorithms, a pattern emerged that made the Admiral's scales tighten with tension. The anomalies were converging, slowly but deliberately, toward a point in deep space far from any inhabited system. Whatever hid in those sensor shadows was gathering for something significant. In the depths of that cosmic darkness, Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Persistence, flagship of humanity's Phantom Fleet. The vessel was a masterpiece of desperate innovation, a hybrid of salvaged alien technology and human ingenuity, wrapped in quantum field generators that bent space-time itself to achieve near-perfect stealth. Around her, The exile fleet materialized from the void like ghosts, becoming solid. Hundreds of ships, each one a testament to human adaptability. Mining vessels converted to warships. Colony ships transformed into mobile command centers. Research craft rebuilt as electronic warfare platforms. They had spent 7 years in the shadows, preparing for this moment. All vessels reporting in. Captain, her executive officer, Commander Chen, announced. Operation Revelation is ready to commence. Elena nodded, her weathered face showing the strain of years spent as an outcast. The Confederate Council had thought they were containing humanity by isolation. Instead, they had created the perfect conditions for human evolution. Pressure, necessity, and the burning desire to prove themselves. Status of the Haven, she asked. Shadow Haven remains secure, Captain. Population stable at 2.7 million. Industrial output exceeding projections by 30%. The Haven was humanity's greatest secret, a massive space station hidden in a cosmic anomaly where Confederate sensors couldn't penetrate. Built from the cannibalized remains of the colony ships that had carried the first human exiles, it had grown into a thriving city among the stars. Scientists, engineers, and visionaries worked together without the bureaucratic constraints of Confederate oversight. Their breakthrough had come 18 months ago when Dr. Sarah Okafor cracked the quantum stealth equations. By manipulating quantum uncertainty at a macro scale, they could make entire ships exist in a state of probability rather than certainty. To sensors, they appeared as fleeting ghosts, there and not there simultaneously. The technology had limitations. Power consumption was enormous, and the effect could only be maintained for limited periods. But it was enough to move undetected through Confederate space, gathering intelligence and conducting operations that seemed impossible to their enemies. Bring us to tactical formation, Elena ordered. It's time the galaxy learned that humanity refuses to be erased. Across the Confederate core worlds, panic was spreading. The empty facilities had become a psychological weapon more effective than any bomb. Citizens demanded answers their leaders couldn't provide. Military forces were stretched thin, trying to guard every installation against an enemy that struck without warning. Ambassador Theron of the Altarian Republic watched the Council's emergency session with hidden satisfaction. Unlike his colleagues, he had served alongside humans during the early exploration missions. He understood their potential, their drive to overcome any obstacle. The Council's decision to ban them had been fear disguised as wisdom. We must consider negotiations, he suggested carefully. The humans have demonstrated capabilities we don't understand. Perhaps dialogue. Never. Lord Vexmar's voice boomed across the chamber. They are terrorists, striking from shadows like cowards. We will hunt them down and eliminate this threat permanently. High Chancellor Thillen raised a crystalline hand for silence. Our intelligence suggests the humans have established multiple hidden bases throughout the outer regions. A military solution may prove costly. Admiral Cathar stepped forward to address the assembly. Honored delegates, I've analyzed every incident. The humans aren't just conducting raids. They're sending a message. Each empty facility represents our vulnerability. They're showing us that our borders, our security, our very concept of control is an illusion. The Council erupted in heated debate. Some called for total war, others for diplomatic outreach. But their argument was about to become irrelevant. At that moment, every screen in the Confederate capital simultaneously activated. The face that appeared was human, scared, determined, and very much alive. Captain Elena Vasquez had chosen this moment to reveal herself to the galaxy. Members of the Confederate Council, she began, her voice carrying the weight of years in exile. You declared humanity too dangerous to exist among you. You seized our worlds, scattered our people, and thought you could erase us from history. You were wrong. Behind her, the image shifted to show the Phantom Fleet, hundreds of ships emerging from quantum shadow, their hulls gleaming with defiant pride. The sight sent shockwaves through the viewing audience. This wasn't a ragtag group of survivors, but a coordinated force equipped with technology that shouldn't exist. We didn't disappear, Elena continued. We evolved. While you maintained your rigid traditions, we adapted. While you clung to outdated concepts of control, we learned to thrive in chaos. The facilities you've lost were just demonstrations. We could have taken lives, but we chose to show mercy. The question now is whether you'll show wisdom. The transmission ended as abruptly as it began, leaving the council in stunned silence. Their worst fears had materialized. Humanity hadn't been contained, but had used their exile to grow stronger, more unified, and technologically superior in ways they couldn't comprehend. In the void between stars, humanity's phantom fleet powered down their quantum generators, revealing themselves fully to Confederate sensors for the first time. The message was clear. They were no longer hiding, no longer running. The next phase of their campaign was about to begin. Admiral Cathar studied the tactical displays with professional respect. The human forces were positioned perfectly, not for invasion, but for leverage. They controlled key positions throughout dead space, effectively surrounding Confederate territory without entering it. It was a masterpiece of strategic positioning. Orders, Admiral. His tactical officer asked. Cathar considered their options. The military response would be catastrophic. The humans had demonstrated unknown capabilities and held the advantage of position. Yet backing down would shatter Confederate authority forever. Maintain defensive positions, he decided, and open a priority channel to the human flagship. It's time we learned what they really want. As the two fleets faced each other across the vast emptiness of space, both sides understood that the galaxy had fundamentally changed. The Confederacy's attempt to excise humanity had failed spectacularly. Now they would have to face the consequences of creating an enemy with nothing to lose and everything to prove. The age of human exile was ending. What came next would be determined not by council votes or military might, but by the willingness of both sides to forge a new path forward. The Phantom Fleet's emergence from shadow marked not just humanity's return, but the beginning of a transformation that would reshape the cosmic order forever. In the depths of Shadow Haven, millions of human exiles watched the broadcasts with tears in their eyes. They had endured 7 years of isolation, 7 years of being branded too dangerous to exist. Now their patience and perseverance had borne fruit. The galaxy that had rejected them would have to acknowledge their strength, their innovation, and their unbreakable will. The silent verdict had been overturned. Humanity was back, and this time, they would write their own destiny among the stars.